former congressman and presidential candidate Will Hurd appeared on, let's see here, I think this was CNN, yes, and talked about how he has no interest in, as many of his fellow candidates within this presidential primary, the GOP presidential primary that is, do, in demonizing and dehumanizing the LGBTQ community. Now, Will Hurd is another one of these individuals that I'll say I am far from on policy, and we would have so many debates about policy positions, and in a normal political environment would be opponents on a lot of these issues. But he's one of the rare Republicans, sort of like Chris Christie, who is ready to and able to actually call out other people in his party effectively, and call out the fact that aside from the humanity of LGBTQ people and caring about humans, also, what does demonizing communities do for anybody? Even if you're saying, I don't care about certain communities, which is horrible, even so, for your voters, your Republican voters, how on earth is that benefiting their life to go after other people? Something we've talked a lot about. How does this address any issues? It doesn't. It's a distraction for the GOP at the expense of people's lives. And so here's Will Hurd on CNN.
Well, my message is I wish they would focus and focus their attacks on war criminals like Vladimir Putin, not my friends in the LGBTQ community. It is 2023. We should be talking about how do we embrace our differences, because here's what I've learned as I've crisscrossed the country: we're better together. And we should be having our leaders that are encouraging that are protecting that, in order to how we use our diversity to solve the major problems that we're facing. You know, we're in a new Cold War with the Chinese government. The Chinese government is trying to surpass us as a global superpower. That's going to impact everybody. And we need to be making sure that we're having a competition of ideas on how to be prepared for that. We can talk about the economy all day long. New technologies like artificial intelligence are going to upend every single industry, not in 10 years, but in 2 or 3 years. These are the conversations that we should be talking about and having, and the way we're going to solve these problems is by doing it together.
I mean, does that sound like a Republican to you? And when you look at his policy positions, again, it's not that he's a Democrat, but that sure doesn't seem to fit within the GOP, the modern GOP, where we just talked about this ad DeSantis put out that was trying to call Trump too pro-LGBTQ because of some statements here and there that were Trump paying lip service, especially earlier on in his political career, to LGBTQ people. But we've seen Trump's actions. Recently, he's calling for banning trans people from even being in the military. Just because of their identity, they can't serve their country. That's what Trump's up to. And DeSantis is saying, I'll go even further. I'm even more dehumanizing. And it was all these quotes that DeSantis was celebrating of him being called by the left a threat to trans people, and he was going, yeah, that's me. That's the modern GOP. Will Hurd, he's not getting that. He's not on board with that. And pragmatically, why would you be? Again, humanely, why would you be? And also pragmatically, in a reasonable environment, how would that be strategically even a political campaign strategy? Who knows? But in this current environment we're in with the far right as it is somewhat politically effective, and it's sickening. And DeSantis rose to prominence. While it seems to be kind of fading, he did do it on the backs of or on the wave of going after LGBTQ people and trying to be a little Trump 2.0 and constantly dehumanizing people. And so in a sense, there is a way that it's effective, which is horrible. But as we've been talking about a lot recently, and we did during this DeSantis LGBTQ ad segment, that I think, by the way, because of that ad was copyright or something, the video got blocked, but I don't know. So I don't know if you'll be able to find it, but we did talk about it. It's not a sign of actual leadership, of strength, of an ambition to improve the lives of Americans when you spend so much of your time going after a community within America, when you spend so much of your time telling your base that a certain community doesn't deserve the love and support that they do, and the humane treatment that they do, and all of that. And that is a sign of weakness on DeSantis' part. and of a lack of actual policy positions that would benefit the lives of his constituents. Because if he had those, he would run on those, not dehumanizing people. He would run on those. And so Will Hurd is running, and this gets us to the sad part of this whole conversation. What should be a more successful campaign within the GOP, again, more conservative on policy, but at least reasonable in some ways, it should be something that defeats someone like Trump or DeSantis, who are just completely outrageous. But instead, we know for certain Will Hurd will get destroyed by those two. And that's the heartbreaking part about this current environment when it comes to the modern GOP.